Summary of South Korea's radar: insane lies. Lies and divert the focus as usual. Hi, I am H2. This channel shows what's happening in Japan based on the fact. Some neighbor countries try to give lots of propaganda to disregard Japan or to keep their regime based on full of their imagination. On 20th of December 2019, Japanese military fighter was patrolling east of Japan Sea, or exclusive economic zone, and found a South Korean frigate destroyer with small fishing boat. When the patrol aircraft approached to them keeping distance ruled by international law, the frigate directed FC radar or fire control radar to Japan aircraft. It is the indicator of interceptor against the plane and called lock-on in international common understanding, despite South Korea should have been the ally of US and Japan. So the pilot of the plane made contact to the frigate using several radio channels following international rule. But no answer from South Korea. The next day, Japan officially claimed to South Korea about this extremely dangerous action. Their answer was that their radar was to search wrecking North Korean fishing boat and no intention to attack Japan. They did not receive any message from the pilot either, and weather was not good and no visibility. They changed the stories in the following day, saying they directed because Japanese patrol threatened to the frigate. Later they changed again, like they did not emit any radar. Since they got no progress due to South Korea's lie, on 28th of December, Japanese government disclosed all the proof to YouTube recorded during the flight. It revealed everything was lie of South Korea, except maybe helping North Korea for illegal smuggling in spite of sanction treaty. Lies are as follows. The weather was bad. Reality is very clear and no cloud. FC radar was to search boat. Reality is that the boat was next to the frigate, no need to search fishing boat. Did not receive any message. Reality is that the crew spoke to the frigate several times as published in YouTube. The biggest question is what they were doing in Japanese. They say they came to that location in response to the small fishing boat's signal for help and human rights activity. But it was far from the peninsula and the fishing boat should not have such a contact. If South Korea could not receive the message from Japan, how did they catch the signal? In response to obvious proof, they changed the stories like this. They received message but radio was weak and English was bad and not understandable. They did not directed the radar. Japan is rude to make fuss about North Korean rescue activity and should apologize. They cannot hide their lies anymore, and they cannot make clear what they were cooperating with North Korea. They cannot tell anything about whether they said invisible anything. Then they changed the stories many times and diverted the point, saying such as rudeness of Japan and apology vice versa as usual. What they did the next was to release counter YouTube, however it was just partial and modified version of Japanese one with cinematic music and cut the part they do not admit their apparent lies. The movie is really like North Korean broadcast, which is of course propaganda. They also insisted Japan fighter came too close breaking international rule, that was why they directed the radar. They showed a picture of the aircraft as their proof as well to try to show the aircraft came across in short distance, however it looks obviously far. How shameful and insane they keep such serial lies and forgeries by country level. South Korea should explain the followings, otherwise they stay as liar for good and we cannot keep allies each other. What exactly they did in Japan is with North Korea. Apology for FC radar direction, that is extremely dangerous. Why they changed stories many times, etc., etc. Thanks for watching the video. I have lots of topics to show you, based on the truth. See you next time.
片時とも、共に1000ヤード間隔の間にいるというもの。これより WARS の方を表示する。はい、WARS、左側に、小型ゴンボートと思われるものを、はい、その先、コンタクト電話については現在回答中、240度に回答している。現在、画面中央、WARS を撮影中。カメラが出ますね、アビオ3枚、マーカビー。手形が回転。左面にゴムボート2匹、その間に、女性のようなものを1隻確認した。現在、左手弦、反転アビオするアビオ3枚、マーカビー。はい。ヘリデッキについては、ヘリと格納されていない。格納からのヘリはなかった。レーダーから回答中。はい、了解。セクション4は、直ポジションとはなし。はい、改めてします。はい。これに関する WARS、ビジュアルコンタクトポジション。コース300度、8ノット。ファンゲットデワンの回答シーンが240度からこのまま回り込んで、ネクストファンゲットデワンの上の方を撮影してくる。漁船間もなく左側。了解。先ほど撮影したこのカマゴ5001から3ゴンホであることを確認した。あ、情報ありましたよね。情報は、ありますね。そうだ。WARS やっちゃいますね。なしで目標写真。WARS の目標情報はないですよね。なし。ファンゲットデワンもなし。一応このオレンジのやつは取ったんですか？まあ、結局前傾今失敗しちゃったので。了解。これ取った後、じゃあちょっと上昇して、前傾取っていこうか。はい、了解。はい、じゃあネクストこのままファンゲットデワンの船尾から、右舷の撮影入ってくる。はい、はい、現在目標については11時3マイル、11.3マイル、今のところ呼びかけとはなし。はい、現在 UV1、2、3、4、国 V カード、U ライト、モニター中、現在画面では、左側 WARS、右側韓国艦艇、クワンゲットでは、はい、言いますと、はい、現在画面でズームアップ、各撮影中、よろしくお願いします。今期、ターゲットの右舷を浴びます。はい、撮影準備をして、カマゴは確認です。レーダーから回転中、ヘリの格納を行い、家のヘリ格納をされているのを確認した。はい、まもなく。はい、3枚、マーカビー、カポップ5、97人。はい、その方ポジションなし、送りました。はい、看板は57人ではないかということで、57人ですか。はい。了解、57人。はい。はい、ビジュアルコントロール。190度、8ワット。971。はい、これは左上昇旋回、V ネクスト前傾の方としていく。はい。韓国の5はあんまり見ないですね。はい。はい、現在の現場の天候、風は丸50度、10ノット。指定不可実況。天文は、北 CU、丸3枚。波1、うねり1、うねりの方向、ノース2、サウス。現在飛行高度1000フィートまで上昇中。1500まで上昇して前傾を抑えていく。了解、1500フィート、レベルを8、前傾確認する。現在画面で2隻 WARS、タイプン約501。フランゲットでは97人撮影している。了解。出してます。FCK 出してる。了解、EC コンタクト。FCK コンタクト。先の方がいいですね。はい、この後でホーム試行等確認せよ。了解。はい。はい、コンティニューホールド。はい。はい、15度マッチングされてる。はい、コンティニューホールド。はい、了解。めちゃくちゃすごいやつだ。はい、今度オブジェで確認中。はい、この後覚えておいてください。これはこちら向いていない。はい、このコースを確認してな。 中。了解。はい、コンティニューホールド。FC レーダー式電波探知。一応呼びかけるか。はい。の方から出てくるの間違いなし。今、電波、今、あ、今止まった。あ、今、ダメです。今、遠い。はい。チャレンジした。はい。ちょっと確認しておいてください。はい。はい。相手できれば、見れたらお願いします。はい。FC らしき、信号コンタクト。現在進行でないですが、確認したので、一応予定を確認します。はい。タコ2はサットホットね。はい、了解。水彩を確認する。はい。じゃあ、タコまでやりますね。ここで1、2、1、5。はい、了解。はい。また、タッチ。コンタクトしたので、これで今、コンタクトされる発で交渉。はい、了解。現在理覚中、置いといてね。はい、了解。コリアンレーダーセット、コリアンレーダーセット。ハナバー、ライダー、セレン、ワン、ハナバー、ライダー、セレン、ワン。This is Japan Navy. This is Japan Navy. We observe that your FC antenna is next to us. What's the purpose of your act? Over. Korean Naval Ship, Korean Naval Ship. However, Radar 71, Radar 71. This is Japan Navy. We observe that your FC antenna is next to us. What's the purpose of your act? Course go wide. Next ほとんど1号まで行きます。はい。Korean South Limited, Korean South Limited. This is Japan Navy. This is Japan Navy. Korean South Limited. Hanaba, Radar 71. This is Japan Navy. We observe that your FC antenna is direct to us. What the purpose of your act? Over. Korean South Limited, Korean South Limited. Phone number 971, 971. This is Japan Navy. We observe that your FC antenna is direct to us. What the purpose of your act? Over. はい。はい、了解。はい、了解。間違いなく、向こうの SCK、さっきへ。はい。記録が取れたかどうかちょっと確認してください。はい、一応、終了。あと、データを取れてます。はい、了解。郵便調査、夕方から入れる。はい、了解です。はい、一応まだ夕方でまだこれ、やってないです。それでやってください。はい、そう。取れてます。了解。はい、了解。ありがとうございます。高尾さんでよろしくお願いします。はい、郵便調査。Korean South Limited, Korean South Limited. This is Japan Navy. Korean South Limited. Hull number 971. This is Japan Navy. We observed that your FC antenna is directed to us. What the purpose of your act? Korean South Limited. Hull number 971. This is Japan Navy. We observed that your FC antenna is directed to us. What the purpose of your act? Over.
Hi, Jung-ho. First to the dispute over Japan's claims that a South Korean warship used its targeting radar to lock onto a Japanese patrol plane. The South Korean Defense Ministry has released a video taking on the claims point by point and making the case that the Japanese plane's low-altitude flight over the ship was dangerous and threatening to the Korean ship. For the latest, we connect to our Defense Ministry correspondent, Park Ji-won. Ji-won?
Devin, South Korea's Ministry of National Defense released a video on its official YouTube account at 2 o'clock this afternoon. In the 4-minute video, the Republic of Korean Navy asked Japan's maritime self-defense forces why in international waters where another country's warship is engaged in the humanitarian rescue of a ship in distress, that Japan would send a patrol aircraft on threatening low-altitude flight in the first place. The video says the Japanese plane approached the South Korean destroyer from a distance of just 500 meters and an altitude of just 150 meters. The ship's crew said they heard loud noise and felt strong vibrations due to the flight, which they said was menacing and threatening. The video released by Japan last week showed the Japanese plane recognized that the South Korean ship was on a rescue mission, but the South Korean video said the plane nonetheless continued its unprofessional, aggressive flight at a very close distance. A military aircraft, it said, should not conduct such a low-altitude flight near a foreign warship because it could cause accidental clashes. Also, Japan had claimed the plane followed internationally agreed rules when it came to the flight's altitude. For that claim, Japan quoted annexed regulations of the Convention on International Civil Aviation. However, the South Korean Defense Ministry pointed out that Article 3 of the convention clearly states that the agreement applies only to civil aircraft and not to military, customs, and police services. So the video points out that Japan is interpreting an international agreement in an arbitrary way to justify its false claim. So the video, and also South Korea once again stressed that its warship did not lock on the plane using its fire control radar. Rather, it used only search radars for humanitarian purposes. The Defense Ministry's video pointed out, based on Japan's own video, the Japanese pilots knew the ship's guns were not pointed at them and knew the South Korean ship had no intention of attacking. Lastly, the video says communications from the Japanese plane were extremely unclear because of loud noises. The video includes actual sound recordings from the ship showing the messages were almost impossible to understand. The Defense Ministry stressed once again that the South Korean Navy had no intention of threatening the Japanese plane, saying that if Japan has any evidence of radar frequency, then it should provide it at working-level meetings. South Korean Ministry also urged Japan to apologize for its aggressive low-altitude flight and urged Japan not to use the incident for political reasons. Well, that's all I have for now. Back to you, Devin.